Good morning, students. If you can hear me, clap once. If you can hear me, clap twice. If you can hear me, go, ooh, ah. Fantastic. Okay. So I just had the privilege of meeting these ladies that you're going to be hearing from. My name's Alexis. I'm moderating. And we have Kim and Deborah and Maria. And I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves because I want them to be able to tell their own stories about how they identify in their roles in their careers. You all have the bio books, so you'll be able to read more about them. But to really get an idea of who they are, we want to give them the chance to tell you themselves. So let me go ahead first and turn to Kim, who's going to share with us a little bit about who she is.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me today. My name's Kim Carli. I work in a hospital. I work at an academic medical center, Keck Medical Center of USC, so just across the way here on the east side of LA. So it's a big academic medical center. We've got a university. We've got lots of great research and science and some of the most complex healthcare happening in our hospitals to take care of the most advanced diseases. And hopefully no one's ever had to experience that because it's really better if you don't. But what I'm able to do in my role there is try to make things better for our doctors and nurses. So my title is Chief of Performance and Transformation. It's a very fancy title, and I'm very proud to have it and to work on the executive team. But the core of what I do and the core of my background is solving problems and making things better. So I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nurse, but I'm trying to make sure that they can do their jobs as well as possible to take care of our patients as well as they can, and to make sure that all of the things that happen in a hospital are working as well as they can. They don't always, sorry. But my team is there to continuously make it better with technology, with problem-solving activities. I'm an engineer by background, and so I just go out and try to solve problems every day and use data to solve those problems. So it's been a wonderful experience. I've been working in healthcare in hospitals like this my entire career, trying to solve problems everywhere I go.
Thank you. Just by show of hands, any of you, as you think about your own career trajectory, think you might end up in medicine or hospitals, medical, anything? You may not know yet, that's fine. Cool. Okay, great. Let's go to Deborah.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me here today. Great to see all of you. I'm Debbie Franchi. I am the founder and CEO of SDS Capital Group. I started the firm back in 2001 when I was 31 years old. And I had been working for Mayor Reardon at that time, and the city of LA in the 1990s was going through a lot of rough stuff. Jobs were leaving, there was a lot of crime and violence, and we decided that we needed to invest more in our low-income communities. So we created some investment funds, about 85 million to 100 million different funds to invest in the city of LA. And I learned how to do that. And I decided to start SDS Capital Group to create those same type of funds all over the country. So today we manage about $1.7 billion in 5 different strategies, different parts of the country, investing in the poorest rural and urban communities of the country, most often to create affordable housing. So for instance, right now, one of our funds, which will resonate, I think, with a lot of you because we're all Angelinos here, we have a $190 million SDS supportive housing fund, and we are financing using private sector money for homeless housing. And so we have 900 units in construction right now in California, and we're using private sector money to build them faster, cheaper, and more efficiently than using a whole array of government money that's difficult to access and very slow. So I know we all see the encampments every day as we drive around and walk around Los Angeles. You know, the state has over 180,000 homeless. So it's a real crisis, and we're trying to get more resources into that. But that's what our company does. We look at using private sector money to address social challenges so that we have government, nonprofit, and the private sector battling against poverty.
So, similar question. Anybody, when you think of your future, imagine yourselves in finance or investing or having to be, something to do with one person imagines having to, two, three. Okay, there we go.
We'll
All
ask
right.
you at the end. We'll see if any more of you raise your hands.
That's right. All right, great. Maria, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. I am working in Microsoft. Have you heard about that company? Microsoft, depending on the day, is the second or the third largest company in the world. We build technology, and I am part of the artificial intelligence division. So how many of you know about ChatGPT? Right, you're using it, right? Right, yes.
No, none of them. None of them know about it?
Yes.
Or use it?
All right.
No?
Yes. So what I do there, I have a platform. I lead a platform of engineers, product managers, and data scientists that create a platform for the teams across the company, products like Office, like the Xbox, like Bing, the search engine across the company to test their features before they fully roll them out, especially with the pivot that Microsoft has on creating copilots for everything that we have. So if you use Office, you will see that you can have a companion to help you to design PowerPoints or to write documents and help you with that. For software developers, we have copilots that help you to code. It's like your companion for programming. So that's what we do. And then my day, the day-to-day is ensuring that we're able to deliver the features for the platform to ensure that the teams are able to do their jobs.
Thank you. Tech? Anybody think they might go into tech? Yeah. Here's the thing about these powerhouse women. I asked them, here's where you are right now. Let's assume it's somewhere on your trajectory. You're not done yet. You're going to keep going. But where did you start? So our theme for this year's YWCC is about planting roots. And where we start may or may not dictate where we go. So I invited everyone to think about, how'd you begin down this path, and to share a story with us that might give us some insight into how it is that they started on their particular career path. So let me go ahead and turn it over to whoever. Maria, you want to keep going? Great.
Yeah, so I love the theme because when I graduated from high school, I told my mom that I wanted to be a psychologist. And I really are passionate about people and people interactions. But then she said to me, well, I'm not sure about that. There is a new school, a university that opened, and they have a new major. I think you should do that. And that was computer science. And, I followed the advice of my mom, and I went to the university. And to my surprise, I loved it. How she knew that computer science was going to be transformational 40 years ago, I don't know. But that's how she planted the seed. Well, she kind of forced the seed. But I followed. And so that I thought, I never thought that I will later on come to the United States and be here and be in one of the most powerful companies in the world, driving the technology that is changing all the jobs. So, so I thought that was, how that seed that my mom planted.
Thank you.
I'd love to follow Maria because I definitely also, appreciate my parents just guiding me towards what they knew I was naturally good at. So like probably a lot of you in here, I was good at math and science in high school. I mean, it was just like, yeah, I like numbers more than words. My brain speaks in numbers more easily, but I had no idea what that was going to be for me. So people said, oh, you should go to engineering for undergrad. Okay, fine. I had no idea all the different disciplines within engineering, all the different opportunities within engineering, but I liked math. I got into the program. It was interesting. It kept me going, and it was I won't say it was easy, but it was easier than probably some of the other undergraduate choices I could have made that required a lot of reading and writing, because that's not my strength. So I was really glad to have been pushed into that. But again, knowing where that was going to take me now 25 years later is really surprising. But it started way back when I went to college. Freshman year, you go to all the different engineering disciplines, and there's industrial and mechanical and chemical and all electrical. And you go to all the little seminars, and one just called to me. I just stayed open to what they were presenting. And industrial engineering was a lot about structure and process and logistics and data and making things better. And okay, that sounds good. Still have no idea what I was going to do with that. And I really just lucked into a friend of mine having an internship at a hospital, and they needed the next intern. And I found that there were so many processes, so many problems to be solved in healthcare, to take what is technically usually engineering and manufacturing and in factories, and to take all of those ideas and bring them into a hospital where it's not a factory. We're not producing widgets or cars or anything like that. We're doing something that's really taking care of human lives, helping doctors and nurses take care of human lives. Really seemed like a fascinating way to apply my engineering brain. And I really just got lucky, but it was because I was leaning towards those things that I was good at, that called to me, and just kept following that path.
Great. I'm going to ask more about what you all think you're really good at and an area of struggle after we give Deborah a chance to answer this question about the roots. So where did it start for you?
Yeah, I'm an entrepreneur, started my own company, as I mentioned. And it's interesting, when I was looking at that question the other day, thought, it goes back to when I was in elementary school. My parents owned a small grocery store, maybe take 4 7-Elevens. That's about the size. So not very big. And our whole family worked there. My grandpa worked there, my parents, my sisters. We were running the cash register, the old fashioned kind, when we were in 5th grade. And I remember one day we had about 6 employees there, and I kept asking my dad, like, well, who's the boss? Who's the boss of the store? It wasn't clear to me. And he's like, well, who do you think? And I guessed all the employees that worked there. And he's like, no, you haven't mentioned one person yet. And I said, are you the boss? And he said, yes, I'm the boss. And I was so intrigued with this idea of owning a company, and then I realized my parents owned this small grocery store. So I was enthralled with that. I didn't quite realize my dad worked 24/7, 7 days a week. I missed that part of it when on the entrepreneurship side. I learned it later in life. But so I was always wanted to have my own company. That was something, I think it was just seeing that in my parents, and all of us, your parents are very, even if it's subconscious, you kind of end up going that direction. But then I got to middle school and high school. I became really interested in sort of what was happening, global international relations, poverty, the challenges that I was seeing in the United States. I was really into the news and talking to adults about these issues. And at the time I didn't know where that was going to lead me. But as I got into college, I said, I really want to focus on poverty. And I started doing a number of internships when I was in college back in Washington, D.C. I worked for a congressional committee on hunger. I went back one summer and did an internship for the vice president's office. I went back again and did an internship for a think tank. And that led me, I really decided that was going to be my career. And I ultimately thought maybe running for office, that would be a way to really impact poverty on a bigger scale. So my paths was sort of, am I either going to run for office or have my own company? And I did. I went back and I out of graduate school, worked for Mayor Reardon here in Los Angeles, as I noted. And then I pivoted to that other passion, which was my own company. And so it's interesting how you find your way. I was just, if you focus on your passion, you may not know what that end point is. We all have our careers, but I say, it all makes sense now because I kept pursuing what I was passionate about, which was poverty. And I wanted my own company. And today I have my own company that invests to reduce poverty. But if you would have asked me back when I was 20 years old, well, I don't know. I mean, I just want to have an impact on poverty, and I didn't know the path. So don't worry if you don't know you're not supposed to know your exact path now. Just follow what you're passionate. If you love numbers, pursue that. If you love writing, pursue that. It will work out. Don't pursue something that just isn't a fit, and it's something that you don't like doing. Go with your passion, and it will work out.
Here's some snap. Okay, we're gonna open it up in a moment for some questions, but I want to give you all to answer this question, a moment to answer this question. What are you really good at? Like, what's your superpower? And then what's your kryptonite? Like, what's the thing that you're like, but not so good at that? Struggle with this. Something you're really, really good at, you'd identify like, I'm pretty aces when it comes to this. And something that you're like, I'm gonna put someone else on that.
I can start. So
Thanks.
it has changed through the time, but it persists. So I was very good at being reliable. And I focus on do what I say. Actions matter. And when people saw that, they said, okay, she's reliable, she's dependable, she will get the job done. As I progress in my career, I remember I told you I wanted to be a psychologist. So I love the intersection of managing technical teams. And then so the people aspects and the technical aspects. And so in a technology company, the developers are the manufacturing line. They produce the code. So it is extremely important for you to know how to manage that and optimize that. No different than a manufacturing company. They ensure that manufacturing line doesn't stop, okay? So for me, that is my niche. I was a developer. I started as a developer. I was probably not the best developer, but I knew the job. And then combined with the people aspects, then it makes me to lead technical teams. And then now it's leadership. And then my role is create clarity. That's the first thing that you do for the team. Then, we generate energy on what we're doing. And then we need to deliver results on the features and the things that we need to do.
And how about,
And then I have to admit, I get distracted very easily. I probably have attention disorder. So it takes effort and intentionality for me to be, paying attention and not getting lost and things like that. So, and, many years working through it, and it still is, struggle.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So,
For me, as the CEO of a company, I think my strength is, in the language of the, business community, being the visionary for the company, coming up with the new ideas, the new funds that we're going to create. And a lot of times the funds that we create have never been created before. So it's not as if we're replicating what someone did in Arizona, oh, well, let's just do that in California. We're actually doing something totally new, and we have to figure out how to structure it so our investors can get a market rate of return. We have to make sure that people will want the capital that we're going to put out the door, and that we can achieve all of the goals of the stakeholders that need to be part of this. And for me, it's also being able to lead people and convince them to put their money into the fund. So when we, for instance, launched our homeless fund, it was right before COVID. And, I went to a handful of investors with the concept, and nobody had done this before. Nobody had used private equity to build homeless housing. It was a whole new concept. And investors often don't want to invest in brand new concepts. They want to invest in something that's been proven and it's been, working well. So I think that's one of my, I mean, if I had to say sort of a superpower is convincing people that this will work and here's why it will work and here's the data to back it up, and knowing what concerns they will have and addressing those concerns right up front. So really being able to almost put on a hat and pretend I'm the investor. Why would they say no to this? What are all the reasons? And make sure that we have a presentation that addresses that before they even ask the question. That's really important for impact funds, because we're creating new things. Every time we create a fund, it's a new fund that we see a gap in the market. We see deep poverty in a certain area, and how can we create something to address that? In terms of what I either not so good at, or and a lot of times what you're not good at is also what you don't like to do. There's a high correlation. For me, I don't want to be in the weeds, really. I really want to have team members that are really capable in executing. And so I can focus on growing the company, raising the money, growing our business strategy. If I'm really in the weeds, which is where I shouldn't be as the CEO. So it is making sure we hire the right people that can really execute and do the jobs. And I have found, and I'm sure we all have stories, that is a hard thing to do. To select, you have every resume looks great. All the references are, for the most part, you call up where they worked before and they say, they're only going to give you good references, of course. So I think that's one of the things in general as a company, finding the right people, having the right person in the right seat. Are they passionate? Do they want it? Do they have the right skills? Are they a fit with our culture and values? And we really work hard to get that right. But it is a challenge for us as a company, I'll say.
Thank you. This is interesting. It's like the flip side. Go ahead.
Well, and that's what I was going to say also. I mean, starting with what you're saying about the candidates, the people that show up with their resume and they're interviewing, knowing who you are. And I heard the last speaker say that as well, right? Knowing who you are and what you're good at. So I'm going to be the person that executes on your vision. So my challenge is the big idea. I'm not a big idea person. I'm an engineer. I'm a data person. I'm in the weeds and I like to crunch the numbers and get it done. I don't have the big ideas.
Work well together.
Right, exactly. Now, and I'm on the executive team, so I need to understand the big ideas. I need to start. I need to work on it. It's something I try to improve all the time, but I know that I'm going to partner with the big idea people and I'm going to say, okay, who do we need in the room? How are we going to get it done? How are we going to measure that it's going to happen? How are we going to put together a plan to execute it, get the right team members and bring everyone together? That's where I'm going to get stuff done. The S is for something else. You go and you get stuff done so that we can execute the vision. We've got a big idea right now, leveraging AI in nursing, and that's really scary to me. I'm an administrator. I'm there to make sure the hospital doesn't get in trouble. We follow all the rules. We make sure we take care of patients. And so I have actually my director, the nursing director that reports to me, it's her big idea. She's a big idea. She wants to take something and I'm supportive and nurturing of that and bringing in the what about, how are we going to do this? Who's going to make this happen? How are we going to make sure that our patients and our nurses are protected when we're using something like this super cool technology? But it wouldn't have been my idea. I'm going to make sure we're doing it right and doing it well. And so knowing that that's my niche and really growing over your career and trying to lean into spaces and say, that did feel good. I thought I was supposed to be a visionary, strategic thinker. Nah. Okay, how do I come back into the work that I really like, that I'm really good at? And that's okay. That's all part of your journey and finding, testing things out and finding out what you're good at. And I'm feel really grounded now in this late stage of my career. So yeah, this is what I'm really good at, and I'm going to execute whatever you want me to make happen.
And I think strong organizations have exactly that pairing. the visionary with the execution. I have a COO that does exactly that. So this is where we're going. We all agree on the objective, and she works with the team to figure it all out. And I get updated and I help when there's problems. But that's when you have a really strong company or organization, when you have that partnership between a visionary and the execution team. Absolutely.
Thank you. So for all of you too, you may be inclined to lead or you may be inclined to execute, and knowing which sort of space your strength is in can serve you as you figure out where you're going as well. Are there questions? Yeah, come on down to the mic. Stefania is right down here and can help you as you make your way down, to make sure that and Joe, our sound guy, everybody say hi to Joe. All right, go ahead.
What was your high school lives like?
What were your high school lives like? Thank you.
Well, I mean, that opens up all kinds of things. Again, I will say, I have a high schooler today, not here, but high school's a lot harder than it was when I was in high school, I think. I'll just say that. I worked hard. I was smart, but I don't think I was working as hard as you guys have to work today. So I'll acknowledge that right up front. Yeah. You really got to put yourself in there. But I will say I like how they teach math better. I am a fan of new math, just in general. I think it's helping you understand what you got to do. Anyway, I was able to find a good balance. It was one of the questions we kind of talked about. I was a dancer, so that was actually my life. Had no, I didn't know if I was going to be a professional dancer, an engineer, hospital administrator. I had no idea, but I was dancing all the time, doing competitive dance, and that was probably consumed my entire every weeknight, every weekend. And I was able to continue dancing through college and even beyond until 40s. And so it was really important, just as you guys all know, any team activity, sport, extracurricular, it just teaches you how to work with people, teaches you more about yourself, gives you an outlet. I'd say the most important thing dance does for me now is it gives me somewhere to have my own space and my own little separate joy. So keep those extracurriculars and hobbies near and dear to your heart, for sure.
Yeah, when I was in high school, as I mentioned, my parents had a store, so I probably worked there at least 15 hours a week. All my sisters and I, we all needed to work there. It was a family-run business. And then I was very into sports. So I did track, I did basketball, I did tennis. And I was a competitive tennis player. I played tournaments all over Northern California every weekend. My mom and I were off to some tournament. I ultimately played on the tennis team at UCLA. So it was actually pretty intense. In middle school, for instance, I'd get up at 5:30 in the morning. My coach would pick me up. I'd go play indoors. It was still dark outside, and then after school playing. And so between work and tennis and school, didn't have much free time at all, which I think was actually great. It kept me out of trouble. I had to learn how to multitask. I loved what I was doing. I love playing sports. I think whether you're dancing, sports, or any other extracurricular, it prepares you for life because you're having to balance multiple things. And when you're in your 30s and 40s and you've got a career and kids, you say, those skills that I learned back when I was multitasking in high school, those were really good skills. The more you can learn kind of to handle and multitask. So yeah, high school was very busy for me, but I enjoyed it. I'm sure it was much easier than it is now. And certainly, the whole process of college and the competitiveness is very different now than it was in the 80s when I was applying. So, kudos to all of you. I know you're all doing great things, focused on your school. I've seen the statistics. Know you're doing a great job, and that'll serve you really well in life.
Thank you.
So I actually went to an all-girls high school, so I really relate to this. Very different in the sense that I am not a sport person. I am not a creative person. So I was very, call it a little bit of a nerd. So I was a very good student. I was more, helping professors. They will tap onto me to, be their helper. And I was the,
Hold on one sec. Thanks, Jen.
okay.
I'm gonna tap it and see.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, and then, so I was.
Wait, hold on.
Nope.
It's really quiet. Let us know when we're ready. Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Kind of.
Hello?
Yeah. There we go.
Hello, okay.
Nice.
And then, in my last year of high school, I was the president of the student body. So it was a, very interesting.
We're gonna have to pick that up. It's gonna. And then, great. All right. Okay, you're good, Maria, I think. No, it's not.
So I was saying that I was the president of the student body, so that gave me access to, other things that I needed to do and learn. But one thing that my mom did, because I was not, doing sports or anything, she loved to travel. That was her hobby. And she exposed me to that since I was very young. Since eight years old, all that, traveling. And then I reflect back in, meeting different people, different cultures. It really enriched me. And I just, love that. So that was something that it was very interesting in my high school years. And my mom would say, if you do great, you will go out in summer to, someplace. So that's what I did. I had great grades, and then she allowed me to travel. So that was my high school.
Thank you. Any other questions? Anybody have a question they want to ask? Yeah, we got a microphone right here. Come on down if you've got one. Great. Woo-woo. Let's see. Yeah.
Oh, this is for Deborah. So when I think of like investing, I feel like I think a lot about like Silicon Valley types and super rich like stock people. I don't know, crypto people. So how did you do anything to like bridge the gap between who's doing the investing and all that and the people that you're serving that are living like in poverty in around the country?
Let me repeat the question just in case. When you think of investing or finance, you may be thinking of Silicon Valley or crypto or things like that. And tell me if I got this right. So as you're building your business and thinking about who's making the investments and who's being served on the back end, are you paying special attention to how that's connecting?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say, the people that gravitate to SDS Capital and work at our firm, they want to make a difference. Sometimes in private equity, I will say, and my daughters have heard me talk about this a lot. A lot of people that do go into private equity, I don't know, when I was in college and I got my MBA, when I was getting my MBA, there were people who said, what do you want to do after you get your degree? It's like, I want to make a lot of money. Okay, that's not a career. That's not, it's an interesting answer. And a lot of those people might go into private equity, and I think that's what you're talking about. It's sort of a very money-driven, get rich perspective on that industry. We are private equity. We're the softer, kind of gentler private equity that's trying to make a difference by using another source of capital, because government and nonprofits don't have enough money to deal with the poverty in this country. Our resources are constrained, and if we don't engage the private sector. So I'm not getting those people that want to go that other path in private. They're not applying for jobs at my firm, to be honest. I'm getting people who are really smart at math. They want to be looking at the deals, the numbers. They want to look at an affordable housing project and look at, is it going to generate the type of return our investors need? Is it going to have the type of impact on this community? So by virtue of what we're doing, we are attracting a certain type of person that is both good at math, typically, because that's part of investing, but they want to have an impact. And it's interesting, as I was working with, my daughter was volunteering for, it was the Giving Spirit, which is a homeless nonprofit. And I was doing a Zoom talking to the other kids on the youth council. And one of them said, oh my gosh, like I'm really good at math, but I've never been able to figure out where I could go with that and make a difference. And so there's a lot of, and there's venture capital firms that are investing in education companies that are able to help youth in inner city get better software and learning. There's private equity firms. And so there are a lot of different types of within the investing category that are focused on products that help people and do good things. So you don't have to think of it all as kind of money grubbing. There are within, because private equity does have sort of that bad reputation. There are a lot of firms that are doing really good things. And it's just finding, if you're interested in that, the type of firm that aligns with your own values and what you want to do. They're out there. And there's more of them now than there were 20 years ago. I mean, it's really changed. There's a lot more impact focused and groups doing what we're doing now. Great question.
And just to piggyback on that question for both of you, Marie and Kim, the idea, one of the things that I noted about the work that all of you do is you're subject matter experts in a particular field, but there's an undercurrent in all the work that you do that really is philanthropic or that is trying to attend to populations who may be in some way marginalized. And I think especially you all are coming up in an era where you are fully aware of all the challenges that exist in the world around you, but not necessarily how to then craft a career where you're able to support yourselves at some point and able to have an impact. And so the nice thing about what all of these women do is they're doing both of those things, having an impact and finding a way to build their own careers. And so I was hoping that you could chat a little bit about that too, how that idea of philanthropy also pervades what you do professionally.
Yeah, do that. So in my case, I came to this country many years ago, and I was good in math, but not in English. So I lost every financial aid that I had to do my master's in computer science. It was very hard for me to pass the test to get in. Finally, I got in, and I got a scholarship from the Organization of American States. I got to school, in the master's, I was the only one. I graduated, and I got into, a tech company, Semantic Corporation. It was all guys. I was the only one. So with time, so being, progressing and working hard and all that, I saw the need. And so, but then, I was focused on delivering my work until one day, one lady in Microsoft invited me to a recruiting event. And that was life-changing for me because she said, I never seen anybody like you. You are Latina like me. So I haven't said it, but you probably know by my accent that I am, not from here. I was originally from Venezuela. So, and that was good. So that inspired me to be part of it. I can make a difference. People can see women in technology and in high-level positions. So I make an effort to dedicate, my time to support nonprofits that help communities, underserved communities, that teach them robotics, computer science, after school programs, but also people in the spectrum. So that is very important to me too. So given that experience that I see, I want to see more people in the tech industry. Actually, we are not able to produce all the software developers that this country needs. So we actually go sometimes, we go to other places or open centers in other countries because we are not able to graduate all the developers that we need for all the jobs. So that was, my effort to bring more people the awareness and the exposure to STEM.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm going to focus a little bit on the same issue of women in the industry versus the philanthropy. Since I kind of covered, we're investing in very poor communities. One thing about the industry I'm in, so our funds are typically real estate, private equity, impact. And, when you look at all the real estate funds around the country, and you look at all the money that's invested in them, and I'll ask people this question: what percent of the capital invested in real estate funds do you think is managed by a woman-owned fund manager? And I'm curious if anyone wants to take a guess at what percent of all the money in real estate funds is by a woman-owned real estate fund manager. Anyone want to guess?
20%,
2%?
2%, 1%, 3%, 10%,
10, 9,
8%.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll tell you, 3 of every $1,000 is invested in a woman-owned fund manager, not even 1%. It is one of the least diverse industries. I only know 6 other women that own their own real estate funds. So how do you address that? And to be honest, I grew up in California, and I think that was actually, it's a special thing because I didn't realize there were barriers. I mean, I grew up thinking I could do whatever I wanted. I was born here, I grew up here, and my parents were very empowering in that way. We do a lot of investing in other parts of the country, and it is different. California is a very entrepreneurial, opportunistic type of place to live. Dream your dream, go make it happen, and failure is okay. The tech industry is full of get back up, start again, try another venture. But some of the things that we're trying to do, because it's not. You can't change this industry that I'm in by waiting until the kids are graduated from college, because if they're not exposed earlier, they don't really know our industry exists. It's not people know about lawyers and doctors and some key industries. They don't typically, and even in college, a lot of women and minorities are not familiar with the finance industry. So we really try to we're very proactive at bringing in women interns to our office, really getting them exposed to helping underwrite, looking at transactions, working with our underwriters. And right now, and even in college, that's a little late. We're trying to expose high school students. So right now, what we're doing is we're having our existing interns create a sort of a boot camp for private finance with modules that high school students can be, if they, they're good at math, they want to learn about this, they can be exposed what's private equity, what's venture capital, what's bond financing, and what's, how does the stock market work? So we're trying to get together a program more for high school students here in Los Angeles that can really get to more girls and women. Because it's sort of that exposure of what is this industry? This might be something I could be good at, but one thing we know is that a lot of girls don't know about this industry, and that's why it's staying these dismal numbers. That's not even 1%.
I would also venture a guess that beyond the industry and the career part of it, our young women understanding how to be financially independent, whether they go into this as a field or not, is a really critical skill for the future. Do y'all feel like you'd be ready to be financially independent, how to manage your money and stuff? Yeah, getting there? Yeah, I think you have a skills session on it today. Kim's gonna go, and then if there's another question, we'll have someone up at the mic.
I think I'll just comment generally about, what we've all said, leveraging your skills and your strengths to find your path and then give back and bring others up. And I'll just continue to emphasize, how fortunate I was to take engineering, right? This big broad, it's the E in STEM, this big broad term. There's so much you can bring, find and bring towards it. And find whether it's a community impact, it's, supporting healthcare, supporting the community. Don't limit yourself. Don't tunnel vision. Well, engineers clearly work in factories or they produce things. There's so many different ways to apply your skills in all industries, in various parts of the industry that are some for making money and some for giving back. And hopefully you can find a space that does a bit of both. And I think that's really, where again, you can find your sweet spot, that you're able to be comfortable and successful, whatever that means to you, while doing something that's meaningful and worthwhile to you. And again, that's where I'll say just healthcare is unfortunately a really large business in this country. There are endless jobs in healthcare that are not doctor or nurse. So again, I heard the previous speaker say, and it was the same for me. I saw blood, my dad was a dentist. I saw blood when I was helping him in the office. I was like, oh, guess I'm not going to be a doctor. This is not for me. How else can I be a part of what again is huge, but really important in helping people through really challenging parts of their life. Hopefully it's a only once in a lifetime experience that they're in a hospital. And so my ability to support that experience, make it as painless, as successful, as effective as it can be, has been really important. Being part of healthcare through COVID, I wasn't on the front lines. We all give so much credit to the frontline nurses and doctors who were there through COVID and experiencing so much. But it was still incredibly powerful for me. I told my mom, I did some of my most important work in my pajamas, right? I was kept at home because I was not an essential worker, but we got telehealth. We got video visits. Didn't really exist before COVID. Lots of reasons why. There's lots of laws and regulations. And your doctors had that going within a month because of engineers and technology and computer science people behind the scenes making that happen to better the community, to ensure that healthcare could continue in safe ways. So it's really neat how you can find ways that you can make a difference as a community in powerful, really powerful impact ways, being a math nerd.
Thank you. Do we have another question? Yeah, come on up. And then after this question, I am going to ask, we have UCLA, Cal Poly, Michigan, and then also grad schools. We've got seniors who are going to be interested in college or internships or thoughts on how you made decisions about that and anything that you might offer to the students.
Well, I want to ask how your day.
Today. So the question was, how is your day today? I think that's a great question. How's it going so far? We're snapping.
Amazing.
Okay. Feel free to offer any observations, insights. You actually, when you were coming, this is a really important question, actually. What you were identifying when you came in and said, I haven't been on a public school campus in a long time, and the sign that you saw?
Oh, yes. So I have to say, I haven't been in a school for a long time. My kids are all grown. And then when I entered the school, it really struck me because I saw a sign that says, immigrants are safe here. And we are. So, because I've been in this country, I'm an American, Venezuelan American, and my kids were all born here. This is my home. But I am an immigrant. You will see, it is basically, it impacted me. So I wanted to acknowledge that for you. So, but you are in a school, you need to study, look for your passion, and then you will find a path.
Thank you. Anything else about the day? A reflection on the day as we're living it?
Yeah, well, I was really excited when I was invited to speak here. I'm such a big believer in girl power and women power, and companies and organizations are better when there's more women at the decision-making table, more perspectives, more life experiences. It makes for better companies, it makes for better nonprofits, it makes for better government organizations. When I was a young girl, I told you I was really into sports, and Title IX hadn't passed yet. So I was on all boys teams in elementary school. I was the only girl on my soccer team. There was no such thing. Now my girls are club soccer, and I think every girl plays soccer now in the country. It seems like it's amazing how much things have changed from having to, if you wanted to play sports, you had to join the boys team back then. And it is amazing, the statistics on all girls schools. My girls are also at an all girls school. And I remember seeing the statistics of when you look at the number of CEOs of major corporations, heads of state, senators, congresspeople, leaders. And I think the percentage was over 50% of those women went to all girls schools. I mean, that was a commonality, and it's amazing when you can, have this type of experience, focus on your education. I will say, especially for the juniors and seniors, if there's areas of interest to you, find adults in those career paths and just talk with them. If one of your friends' parent is in a certain field, say, gosh, I'd love to just spend 20 minutes with you and hear about what your job is, what it entails. When you get to college, do internships. It's the best way to experiment. And you may do one and say, ugh, that was not at all what I thought it would be. And that's okay, because that means you should pivot. That's not the type of career for you. You may find one, you say, this is it. This is the direction. And you keep going deeper in that direction. So really explore. That's the main thing. Explore your passions.
Yeah, no, I'm thrilled. I echo the sentiment. This has been a real honor. I'm very privileged to be here. I think it's so important. Representation matters. And when I was in engineering programs in college, the only woman, and honestly, STEM numbers for women aren't a little better than they were when I was in college. And so we need to keep encouraging women, not only in STEM, but then in the leadership roles. There's so much data that says how much better companies perform when women are in leadership roles. And so please, continue that. Those are the numbers that I want this generation to move is women in leadership, making a difference, bringing women's issues to the top offices, to really make an impact change. So I'm thrilled to be able to support you all in that.
Thank you. Okay, so a quick lightning round. You work very hard. You suddenly have a day off, a random day where you can do whatever you want. How do you spend your random free day of relaxation?
I'll go to the spa.
You go to the spa.
A massage.
A massage. By yourself or with friends?
By myself.
Okay. All right. Next.
Hike or yoga by myself.
Hike or yoga by myself. Thank you.
Hiking or the beach.
Hiking or the beach. Nice. By yourself or with friends?
I like both.
Okay. Either or. Depends. Nice. Okay. Another one. A recent movie or book that you have been inspired by or very much enjoyed or entertained by?
I read the Brené Brown books. They're a lot about emotional intelligence. I'll say that broadly. We're using it as our leadership blueprint right now. So that's just really gotten me in touch. I mean, it's like having a psychology therapy session every time you're reading it and that kind of thing, but it's important. And I think continuing to be introspective and reflective at all stages in life is important.
Brene Brown. Great. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm usually reading about 5 books at one time, some on Audible, some, and then I mix them up. One's on business, one's on a biography, and then one's just for some brain space, interesting. But one book I love and I always recommend to my interns, women interns, Sheryl Sandberg, Lean In. It's really great, and I think it's great if you read it when you're young, because it touches on all of this, with the statistics and the studies on how companies are better with women, but also the tendencies that women have, that they put themselves in the backseat just by our wanting to please others, our willingness to let others, jump out and speak before we wait our turn, and the idea is already out there. So highly recommend that as a put on your reading list for the future.
Sheryl Sandberg, Lean In.
Yeah, for me, actually, this is a several years ago movie, but it resonates in, especially this month that we celebrate Women Heritage Month, is RGB. RGB is Ruth Day, the Top Justice. I love that movie because she was very good at what she did as a lawyer, and then she got to the top. But she also was a wonderful wife, supporting her husband in how they worked together for both careers, and then as a mom. So I related to that. I loved it. So I highly recommend that movie.
RBG. Thank you. We have just about 6-7 minutes left. So I would love to do a final round and find out from you 2 different things. One, if you had the opportunity to go back, have coffee with your younger self, we know this is a phenomenon, what would you say? That's number 1. And number 2 is an excellent piece of advice at some point that someone in your life has given you that you would like to share with us. Those may be the same, they may be different.
But mine are the same in that space. And I would tell myself, my younger self, to be patient. Be patient with yourself and your growth. Be patient with your career path. Don't be in a hurry, and be open to that path. I think that's what a lot of us have talked about. So being patient, understanding that things come in the right time. My personal philosophy is that the universe kind of works itself out usually. And so if you're patient and you look for those signs, and you're open.
Looking back, for instance, some internships I did, I often thought I was supposed to know stuff. Like I'm a college student. I'm supposed to know how to do this job. I'm supposed to know this information. And I now realize you're not supposed to know that. You're an intern. You're young. You haven't had the life experiences yet. So, as you're in college, as you're doing internships, as you're in your first job out of college, it's okay to ask questions. You're actually not expected. You're not the CEO. You're not the COO. It's not expected that you know everything yet. So feel comfortable. Look for mentors. Find someone that you can go and talk to and say, hey, I was in that meeting and there's 10 different terms that were used over and over and I have no idea what they mean. Of course, now you can go on Wikipedia. I know when there was no Wikipedia I could go to, but find those people that can be your mentors, ask those questions, build up your own repertoire of information and expertise. I think that that's really important and something I wish I would have been more comfortable with.
Right. Actually, you both stole my, what I was going to say about curiosity, asking questions and being patient with your career path. But I would say, I would tell myself to have perspective. When you grow in a place where everybody looks like you, then you don't have perspective sometimes. When I came to this country, then I was the only one. So then it gave me perspectives. Everybody has different perspectives, different life experiences. So we need to be mindful on that and then be patient or delay judgment until you learn more of others. So that will say that to myself. And the best advice that I got, and I will tell you this, was from an HR partner when I was at Yahoo. She, so I had a new boss. It was a big job. And I'm like, okay, and then I didn't know if I should ask for a raise. And then I thought maybe they will notice and they will ask for the raise. So they will give me the raise. I said, no, you are going to ask for a raise. And what is the worst thing that can happen? That they tell you no, but you will ask the question and you will ask for it. In my case, I did, and my boss said, absolutely. And I got a raise because I asked. So nobody will do it for you. Be intentional and ask.
Thank you. Any final thoughts as we wrap up our session with you ladies today?
I forgot to answer the best advice, so I will. I worked for Mayor Reardon in the 90s, and he was kind of brought in to sort of fix the city. The city was in a very challenged place back then, and the bureaucracy was very tough. The systems were really hard to reform. It was really hard to change things, and I was 27 years old at the time, and it was a lot of young people that worked for him. Wanted to change the city, make it a better place to live, and he basically constantly told all of us, don't ask permission, ask forgiveness. This is going to be a tough job. If you see something that needs to be done, don't go through 20 steps of bureaucracy. You go figure out how to make it happen. And I took him seriously. And, people will tell you that won't work, that won't work, that won't work. That fund you want to do, who's ever going to invest in that? That's impossible to do, use private equity for homeless housing. People are going to tell you no all the time. But if you see a path, pursue it, try it. Don't let the naysayers get you down.
Thank you. Let's give them a hand, you guys. Once again, Kim, Deborah, and Maria, thank you so much for your time, your generosity, your expertise today. And thank you all for being a really respectful audience. You're going to get out of the rest of the day what you put into it, and what you've been putting in here is really terrific. So thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the day, and let's go ahead and turn it back over to Liz.